Hi guys, so remember Dido Harding? She has been off the radar for a little bit over the last number of months, but a little brief history of Dido Harding. So she was in charge of TalkTalk, a mobile phone company, didn't do very well and she left the company. She did a few other things after that, and then finally she was made a peer. She was put into the House of Lords by the Conservative Party and she was given the job of running the test and trace system, which was a disaster, even though she received £37 billion, not 37 million, 37 billion pounds, and it resulted in a disaster. But that doesn't matter because there's some sunlit uplands for Dido Harding. She perhaps will be put in charge of the NHS. Now, being incompetent is one problem, but her approach to patients' data is also interesting. So let's hear an interview she had with the head of Cambridge Analytica. Yes, Cambridge Analytica. A few years ago, she was speaking to the chief executive of that company. Let's hear what she had to say with him.
About how the digital world is changing everything. I wonder if we could start off by you telling us a bit about what Cambridge Analytica does.
Certainly. Thank you, Dido. So we're a data-driven marketing and communications agency, which really means that we're trying to use data and predictive analytics to identify and target audiences such that we can start to serve more personalized content to the people we're trying to engage.
So a quick Google search will flag up that you've used those skills and techniques a lot in the political arena around the world. What is it that you're doing with data analytics that's driving the effectiveness of various political campaigns?
Well, it's actually a great shame that we consider ourselves a technology firm that happens to apply its technologies and methodologies in a number of theatres, including politics and defence and government space, but principally in the brand and commercial space. But certainly politics is what we've received most press for in the last 6 or 12 months because of the elections that we've been involved with. To answer your question, in the political sphere, what we try and do is use data to understand what messages are most important to individual constituents, to individual voters, such that we can align the politicians' policy and ideological standpoint with the voters so that they can be well informed about what position the candidates are taking, and therefore have enough information to make up their minds about who they want to vote for.
It's actually the opposite, the complete opposite of that. So what Cambridge Analytica were doing, and I'm not an expert on this, but I'm just going from what I've heard, what I understand, is that they would use people's preferences, for example, on Facebook. So things that you like, pages that you follow, and they would understand what if you could be manipulated. So what they would do is, if you liked, for example, a tweet by Nigel Farage, they would understand that, okay, this person could be convinced to vote for Brexit. Maybe they like other pages like the Liberal Democrats or the Labour Party, but they may have liked a comment by Nigel Farage, for example. And what they would do is they would manipulate the algorithm in order to feed this person pro-Brexit media, pro-Brexit information, pro-Brexit news on a continuous basis. So every day they would open their page, instead of finding out information about their friends or family, tweets about that, or Facebook posts, they would receive pro-Brexit information. And they were manipulated by algorithms that were developed by companies like Cambridge Analytica. So it wasn't about informing voters, it was about convincing voters through manipulation.
Can you give us a sense of the scale of personalisation? Say in a campaign that you've been involved in, what proportion of the population might you be directly, specifically communicating with, as opposed to sending a generic message to?
Well, it actually depends very much on the legislative framework of the countries that you're working in. So different countries are more or less permissive in their data legislation. Countries such as the UK is what's known as an opt-in data environment. So people have to give their consent for their data to be used for these types of programs.
So people have to give their consent. Now, Dido Harding is going to be in charge, it seems. It's not confirmed yet, of course. It's just news, a rumour at the moment. But if Dido Harding is going to be in charge of the NHS, do you think she's going to protect people's data? Or do you think she's going to allow it to be sold off to private companies in the United States, for example? In a trade deal, do you think people's data will be protected? Or do you think people's data will be sold off to private companies? Now, this could manifest in different ways. So, you know, once the NHS is privatized or it's on the way to complete privatization, if your data, for example, your medical history, is sold off to a private company, this company will be able to inundate you with advertising about maybe if you have a back problem or something like that. They'll be able to access whether you have certain medical conditions, and later on, when private healthcare is the real only way to access healthcare itself, private insurance, health insurance is the only way to access healthcare, these companies will be able to deny you treatment. That's what's happening in the United States. Pre-existing conditions were a huge issue until Obamacare came along. And I think it's still an issue in the United States, where people have to pay huge premiums in order to get treatment. And then they are denied the treatment, or they're denied coverage by the insurance company because they had a pre-existing condition. Now, how do the companies know about this? Because they have access to records. So private companies in America, for example, could have access to personal data of British citizens. The people in charge don't care about the public. The people in charge don't care about the NHS. They don't care about people's health. They're very happy to sell off this data. It's extremely worrying that Dido Harding could be in charge of the NHS. She's been incompetent when it came to the test and trace, a disaster. But it's also probably even more concerning that she could be in charge of handing over data to private companies in the United States. This should not be happening. The NHS should be protected. The NHS is the gold standard around the world, and the Tories have always wanted to destroy it, to tear it down, and to sell it off. And unfortunately, this seems to be just another example of what's going to happen. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?